Hey guys, we are back with another wedding planning powwow. I am so pumped this week. My good friend Samantha Linn, she's a super talented makeup artist, and she's going to be coming on with me. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of things for makeup and prepping for your wedding day and all that kind of stuff. So I think Sam's in here, so I'm going to see if I can add her on.
Wait, this is great. I can see you and I can see comments. Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm hoping that, because that is the limit of tech support that I've got. That's
always reboot. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool. So
facials. God.
Facials. So what even happens at a facial? Like, what do they do?
You know what? It's so relaxing. No, so I actually did a little research and I went for a couple different kinds of facials. Now, usually like baseline, like it's all about like extraction. So they're kind of just like deep cleaning your skin. It's definitely there's all different sorts of levels of exfoliation. So I got a super gentle one time, and that was like my skin was just like super irritated and broken out, and we did something that was like super gentle. And she had mentioned that it's great for like pregnancy and stuff like that. And then I've also got on like the other spectrum, which is like called dermaplaning. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
Okay, so it's totally life-changing.
Okay.
It sounds really scary. It's like a tiny razor. I know. Waiting for the Jen face. But they like exfoliate your skin, and my skin literally was like the nicest it's ever looked in my whole life. It was like butter. So there's totally so many different kinds of facials. Now one of the places that I love is in Hoboken, and they're called Easy Beauty Salon. And what I loved about them was that when I went in and she basically looked at my skin, and I went for a couple different months, and each month she would say, okay, this is what's going on with your skin this month, and this is what we should do. Right. So it was very like custom and very personal.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is great, because I always tell people too, like, you know, your skin changes with every season. We have 4 seasons or whatever this crazy weather is. So
I don't know.
Yeah. So definitely month to month your skin might change, and you definitely want a professional to be able to help you out. So definitely if you're like 3 to 6 months out, I would say you can start going for facials regularly, and you will definitely see an improvement. Okay, so I want to talk about hydrofacial, because that's like the trend right now. I love your face. You're so funny. Tell me more.
Tell me, what is it?
And that's like a really good facial, especially if you're getting married, because it's really just going to boost hydration in the skin and like smooth out the texture, which is like, if you're going to do 2 things for your skin, you want to do that.
Okay.
Hydrofacial.
I'm taking notes. I'm right now.
So if you're a few weeks out from the wedding day, a little different. Like, you don't want to really go for a facial, you know, God forbid you have like an allergic reaction. You don't want to be dealing with that on the wedding day.
I feel like I totally would. I'm like allergic to everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to be careful. And sometimes it's new stuff that you don't even know you're allergic to. So please don't do that. Start now. Okay, so you can drink more water, which is like the easiest thing to do. That's definitely going to help your skin. Whatever you're doing with your current skincare, even if it's the apricot, just you do it religiously. So, a scrub is a bad example, because you don't want to scrub your face every day. But if you have whatever moisturizer no, you don't, do you? Oh no.
Damn, I'm so serious. Like, SOS.
But your skin is so nice.
Maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know.
You should scrub every day. No, don't listen to that. Do not listen to that.
So bad.
But whatever moisturizer you're using, you want to make sure you're using it religiously. You want to take your makeup off at night. You want to be good to your skin. Okay, good. Okay. All right. I feel like people don't like to hear this, but minimal alcohol consumption in, you know, the week before the wedding, it really just inflames everything. It's going to create more puffiness. Not a good idea, especially the night before the wedding. Have a glass of wine, not 3 glasses of wine. Sunscreen for sure. Sunscreen's like an overall, like, wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
The skin is super harmful. The sun can be super harmful. And the worst part about that, I think, is that it feels so good in the moment and like you look so great with a tan, but then you don't really see that damage. Do you tan at all?
No, literally. I get some freckles. That's about it.
Adorable. But it feels good in the moment, but then the damage that the sun does, you don't really see until 5 or 10 years down the road. So, you know, just wear the sunscreen.
Yeah.
I also usually try to remind people to like moisturize your body or moisturize your hands, especially because they're going to be in a lot of photographs. So I feel like people forget about that. Like I'm sure you know, holding your bouquet or like a ring shot or something like that. So you want to make sure that you're moisturizing your hands leading up to things, especially like in this really crummy cold weather. And my last like favorite new thing is my humidifier. I know it sounds silly, but a humidifier is like my favorite beauty product right now. My skin is just so dry, and I think you go from, you know, hot heat in the house, and then you go and you sit in your car and you blast the heat on your face, and then you go outside and it's freezing cold. Your skin is just so dry and like so beat up by this point. I love that we're doing this on the first day of spring now, but by now your skin is like, we are so done with the winter, we're ready for summer. But the humidifier has not only helped my skin, but it definitely helps like with breathing and stuff like that. So that's like number one beauty product right now is a humidifier.
I love it.
Yeah, I could keep going, but no, I'm just kidding.
So, can you share some of like your favorite products that you recommend? And like, I know you said it's different for everybody, but I mean, for people like me who use the apricot scrub, where do you start? Because like, I literally don't know anything else.
No, I mean, you're on the right track, I think. No, scrubbing your face is good. You don't want to scrub every day. Every few days is good because you're really going to just kind of tear your skin up if you're scrubbing every day. I mean, I know the apricot scrub. Who does it? And it's not like a super abrasive product, which is great, but you probably don't need to use it every day. You probably could just use like a gentle face cleanser, like Cetaphil makes a Cetaphil, Cetaphil. People say it a little different. You could, sorry, my cat just blasted in my room.
Oh.
You can just use like a super like it's very moisturizing and it's very gentle on the skin, so that's great to use every day. You don't have to do the scrub every day. One of my like all time, and I even brought it because I think I should be a spokesperson for Aquaphor. So, it is like,
I use that like as chapstick.
Yeah. No, that's what it's for. Okay. You're on the right track. But but I love it too because it's really great for like super dry areas or like super or like cracked skin or anything like that. So you can use it on your hands, you can use it on your lips, which is like what I think majority of people use it for. But if you ever like have a cold and you're blowing your nose, like around your nose gets super red and dry.
That's smart. So smart.
It's like, it's always in my bag. It's great for elbows, hands, anything like that.
I used to use it a lot too because I had eczema back in college.
Yeah.
I don't really have it so much anymore. Knock on wood. It like has not returned. But I used to use that a lot for eczema stuff too because it just like works so well. But I never even thought about it because I always, every time I have a cold, I'm just like, my nose hurts so bad.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yeah. And it's not like, I mean, it's pretty thick, but if you like warm it up between your hands and kind of push it into the skin, doesn't really feel like a Vaseline or anything like that. Like, definitely a little bit better than that, but it will definitely do the trick. Yeah. I love, and this is like, a lightweight moisturizer that's kind of good for everybody is Kiehl's Ultra Facial Cream. It's like it's super basic. It's lightweight. It's hydrating. I love that it's unisex, so you can use it with your fiance, and it's gonna get the job done without feeling like a super heavy cream on your face. Because I feel like that's like the number one thing people say. They're like, I hate like how a moisturizer feels, and I'm like, you have to do it though.
Yeah.
But it's lightweight, that it feels like it'll feel comfortable under makeup. It's definitely a good go-to. And like I said, it's for all skin types. So even if you don't know what you are,
right,
it's perfect. And that's Kiehl's. I mean, that you can find that. I think it's in Sephora. They definitely have stores. If you're in North Jersey, it's in like every mall now. And my like super favorite product right now is from Summer Fridays, and it's the Jet Lag Mask. So this is a little bit more of a heavy duty moisturizer. It is a mask, but you leave it on. So it's kind of like a leave-in conditioner, but for your face.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's super great. It's a little bit thicker, but I still wear it under makeup. So it just depends on your level of comfort. But moisture is like super important, especially in this weather.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you feel, because like for me, I think I just use like a Cetaphil, like whatever cream for my face. But I usually do it every day, but like I do, like it makes me nervous because I feel like if I do too much moisturizer, then I'm gonna break out. But like, that's not gonna happen. That's fine.
You know what's interesting about that? So if you, I was actually having this problem myself, is that I was breaking out a lot and I wasn't sure like what was going on, if it was hormonal. And then I realized that my skin was actually very dry. So what happens is your skin is super dry, and then it starts creating more oil because your skin is dry. So it's trying to solve the problem itself, and then it ends up creating this oil, and then it ends up causing the breakout. So
interesting.
I know, a little mind blowing when you first hear it.
Yeah.
But if you're having any breakouts or anything like that, it could actually be from dryness.
Good to know.
Yeah,
that's like counterintuitive, because I would feel like the other way around, but yeah, that makes sense.
People are always like, I don't moisturize because I'm oily. I'm like, no, like, you know, your skin is probably dehydrated, even though you do get shiny throughout the day. Yeah. And that's like a lot of people too. They're like, I'm really oily, but then you have like get like scaly or peely. Your skin is actually dry, so you want to definitely use a moisturizer. And a good trick too with that, if you feel like it's too heavy during the day, like you said, if you feel like you're putting on too much or it's too greasy or whatever, do something light like during the day when you wear like, you know, underneath your makeup, and then do something heavy at night when, like, who cares if you're like shiny going to bed.
Right. Yeah. True. That makes sense. Nice. Do you use like toner? Like what? I like do not know what any of this is for. I just like I just know that there's like all these things like rose water, face stuff. There's like so many different things. I was my sister does like a whole bunch of stuff, and she like showed me when we were like on our trip in California, and I'm like, what is all this stuff?
And this goes back to what I was saying before, like there's just literally so much out there, which is like I feel like it's like a blessing and a curse. It's like Pinterest, you know, like you could just like fall into a hole of like, oh, I need like the next greatest thing.
Yeah.
So I would take it one step at a time in terms of products, because if you start using a bunch of things at a time, you're never going to really know what exactly is working for you, or what's causing that breakout, or what's causing that allergy. So you definitely want to introduce things one at a time. A toners for me, I'm not crazy about the idea of it, because I feel like it can be really drying. A lot of them have alcohol in them. So again, you have to kind of play around with what works for you. I always feel bad saying that, because people are like, you don't have like an easy answer for me, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, you have to do the research, and like I said before, like the worst thing you could do is like go to whatever your friend uses and try that, because your skin is probably totally different than your friend's. So it's like a mascara. Like, one person could love Maybelline, the next person hates it. It's the same thing with skincare. So you have to do the research yourself.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I've already got like a full page of notes.
Yay!
All right.
Summer
What else
Fridays
we
Jet
got?
Lag Mask is like the best thing you can do for your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like made with great ingredients and not tested on animals. And it's just, if people take one thing away from this, go get Summer Fridays Jet Lag Mask.
Nice. Where do you get it from? Is that from Sephora?
That's Sephora. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited about this. So talking a little more about like makeup for your wedding day. So how do you figure out like what kind of style of makeup, like what do you even do?
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure trial is important in all of this, but
what'd you say?
I know trials are important in all of this, but
so like the first thing I usually tell people to do, especially if you have no clue, is like go on Pinterest and type in like bridal makeup or red carpet makeup and just literally go through the list and sort of like save or pin like what speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
You might look at that list afterwards and be like, oh my God, this is like all over the place. But at least you're starting to get your feet wet. It's kind of like a wedding dress, right? Like you have to start trying things on and you have to start looking through things to say, okay, I actually like this, but I don't like this. Or I like this part of it, but not this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I like beading, but I don't like the cut of it, whatever it is. So it's the same idea. You have to kind of get your feet wet with makeup. So especially coming to a trial, like I always tell people, like look through some photos, even if they're like all different when they bring them to me. I'm like, okay, what do you like about this photo? Do you like, you know, and usually they're like, oh, I really like her eyes, but I don't like the red lip. Okay, great. So at least we have something to work off of. I always tell people too, like, so when I do a trial, the first thing we do is sit down and talk about things. So we talk about like personal style, we talk about the wedding, we talk about details, colors, etc. Like especially like the venue, like that tells me so much about that person and their style. Yeah. So it depending on the person, I shouldn't even say depending on the person. It should always be a reflection of you. Oh, hi. Our animals are getting in the way. Oh my God.
I know. She's like, I need to be on your lap. I'm like,
okay, all right. She wants to learn about skincare and makeup.
Yeah, she's all about it.
Yeah, so it should reflect you definitely. And I think the biggest mistake, or I don't even want to say it's a mistake, but a lot of the times people come in and they're like, I don't wear any makeup and I want to try something super dark and smoky. And they're usually like, oh, this doesn't feel like me, you know? Yeah. And sometimes you just have to see it to know it's not what you want.
Right.
But try to stay true to yourself. Yeah. Stay true to what feels good.
That's good advice. Yeah. Because it's like, you feel like there's so many different things out there. It's like, oh, I could try this. I could do this. I could do that. Like, a million ideas, but
and I think like
you want it to feel like you.
Yeah, and people get overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, it's my wedding day and I have to look like super special or like super, and you will look super special, you know. I think, you know, just working with a professional makeup artist, it's gonna definitely already kind of like up your game, you know. It's gonna look more polished if you're like working with a professional, so you don't really have to worry too much about that, you know. You just want it to be, I always say, like timeless. Like you really want it to be classic, because this is so mean. I feel like this is so mean of me to say, but like you look back at like your relatives and you're like, really, like blue eyeshadow like in the 80s, like wow, you know what I mean? So it's like 100%. You want something that's going to be more classic instead of super trendy.
Right. That makes sense. And like that's how I feel like about photos and everything in general. Like I like to edit in a way that like feels timeless, like or like film, rather than, you know, anything, just because like I feel like that's what I would want in my like wedding pictures. So totally. That makes total sense that applies to like how you actually look also.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think like I always try to tell people, like, think about looking at your photo album in 10 years and like think about this, like if you never wear a red lip, why would you pick today to start? Right. It doesn't make any sense. But if that's what, if you do wear like a, blue eyeshadow every day, then you should absolutely wear blue
Right.
eyeshadow on your wedding day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stay timeless, stay true. Think about your own style for sure.
Yeah. Love it. So when you're prepping for a trial, like what should a bride do before the trial to be like prepared? And also like, what's the trial like? How's that all go?
Okay. So for me, like I said before, like the first thing we do is sit down and we chat. So literally, I think I bring up makeup like 10 minutes into the conversation because I want to like know more about the wedding. I want to know more about the details. In the grand scheme of things, makeup is like a detail. That's how I think about it. And you want it to kind of fit with everything else. And again, you want it to be like true to your style. So if you're having like I do a lot of like outdoor weddings. I do a lot of rustic weddings. So usually it's like more natural and airy. The makeup, my favorite word to describe makeup is like fresh. Like you want it to just be super fresh, timeless, classic. But if you're getting married in a more grand venue and you're wearing a big ball gown, it's going to be a different makeup. It's going to be something a little bit more dramatic and glamorous. So I always ask a lot of questions about the wedding itself and again, personal style. And then from there, we start to dive into the look and we can look at pictures, we can talk about colors. A huge tip is like, and this is good for communicating with your makeup artist, is like warm colors versus cool colors. So if you want a smoky eye and you want it to be warm, then you probably want like browns or rust tones, bronze. If you want it to be cool toned, it's going to be more gray, black.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So a lot of the times people are like, I want a smoky eye. And I'm like, oh, like a black smoky eye or like, oh, no, bronze. Okay, so you want warmer tones, right? Yeah. So, and those are they're both smoky eyes. Yeah. Two totally different looks, right? Yes. So that's like a huge tip to have like an idea of like the difference between warm and cool. Yeah. I also say like,
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Warm and cool, do you feel like that depends on like your skin tone, like what works well or not so much?
Sometimes. I mean, I think it either could work on both. I think it would be more of a personal preference in terms of like what looks better. And that's totally like in your makeup artist's hands too. Like sometimes somebody will pick something out and I'm like, that's so pretty, but like your features would be so much better with this particular look for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like if you have like beautiful golden skin, I'd be like, no, like let's just try this bronze look because I think it would suit you so well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of like, you definitely want to give your input and you want to like talk about all that you want, but also be open to maybe, and this goes for any vendor, right? Like be open to what they want to share with you because chances are they've done like 100 weddings. Right. Yeah. So I'm sure you totally understand where you're like, I love this idea, but like it could be so much better if we did it this way. Yeah. So, and I think that's like, I always tell people that too. I'm like, when you pick your vendors, pick people that you trust. Yeah. Because if you trust them, you're going to have such a smooth day and you're going to be so much happier than you could ever imagine. Right. Yeah. So, trials too. I always tell people to wear like a white shirt or like a white top. I feel like a lot of people come to a trial and they're like super like relaxed and it should be super fun, but at the same time sometimes if you're too dressed down or your hair's like up in a messy bun and then you put makeup on and you're not like a big makeup wearer, or it feels all of a sudden like, oh my god, I have this huge face of makeup and I feel like so out of place and it feels like too much. But you really have to like envision yourself on your wedding day, right? Like it's a totally different story. So so I'm always like, be comfortable but at the same time have that kind of in your mind, especially if you're not like a makeup wearer. Right. Totally. So.
That's so That's so good. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. But that makes a lot of sense because like this is probably a bad analogy, but just thinking like anytime I'm like going clothes shopping or anything, I'm like I have to like do my makeup and hair. Like if I go shopping and I'm looking like a bum, I'm not gonna like what I'm putting on.
Yeah.
So if it's like, okay, my hair's like done nicely, like not wearing like a sweatshirt, like then maybe it'll like it fits more so you can like visualize totally.
Yeah. Or like wearing the right undergarments when you're like gonna try on a dress or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's the same idea, and I feel like for whatever reason with makeup, it like sometimes people don't think about it.
Yeah.
And I also get a lot. I think it's because of that. Whether you know you come super prepared. I mean, you could come in a dress, and sometimes it still like isn't enough. But like on the wedding day, I'll have the bride be like, you know what? Can you just like kick it up like a couple notches because you like see your bridal party looking like amazing and they're like all finished, and then it's like, well wait, I want to like be elevated too, like maybe I didn't want it as natural as I thought, and you know, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot too, and I think so, you know, already it's, you know, it's kind of hard to imagine sometimes. I mean, I only do makeup, but I always like encourage my brides too to be like, go like try to get your hair trial the same day, or if you're doing a fitting, it's a great time to get your makeup done and then like go do a fitting. You know what I mean? Like just to start kind of feeling it all together. Yeah. So I mean, of course, scheduling doesn't always allow that, but it's definitely a great way to do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I also say like not, and this doesn't really have to do with like the makeup for your wedding, but I love getting together with my brides for like engagement shoots, engagement parties, or bridal showers, whatever it is. If you have another opportunity to work with your makeup artist, it's so helpful. And it's just like with you, right? Like you do engagement shoots and then you're like, okay, now we like kind of know each other, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it just helps you get to know that person a little bit better, and then like it's easier to work with them.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense too. And like, I don't know, I mean, me personally, like thinking about like all of these like fun events and stuff coming up, it's like, okay, well, I want to look good for all of these things too. And then that's like the added bonus of like, okay, and then now like my makeup artist like knows me better, knows my skin better, like all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's really cool. Very helpful.
And I've even like, when I work with people a couple times, I'll be like, okay, like, you know, your skin was dry now. And then like, I'm like, oh my God, your skin looks like so much better. Okay, now let's like amp it up and like try something, you know, whatever it may be. Or, you know, I can encourage them to go for a facial or suggest a place to go. So definitely the more you work with your, and I'm sure you can agree, the more you work with your vendors, the more we can get to know that person, the better our work will be.
100%. I'm like, listen, I want to know everything. Like, we're going to be best friends.
We're so creepy. I'm so creepy, but I feel like it just makes it so much better. Like if you are like more, right? Like you're one of the family. You're a friend. Yeah. Like who knows you better than your friends and family, right? So let us in. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. So whether you like it or not,
we're going to be your friend.
I love it. But it's important. Like this is one of like your biggest days. I feel like for me personally, I'm like, yeah, I want to be surrounded by people who I care about, who you know, I want to work with people who I love. Like that's important to me. So I feel like it makes sense.
I you know, I always say like I love I love the morning. So the morning is like super important because you're getting ready and you want to like the right environment the morning of the wedding, because it can be really stressful sometimes. We do our best to create like a really and I know you do too, because I've been to weddings that you're working, but like you want to create a fun environment, and you want to have like people that you trust around you. You don't want it to be chaotic or whatever. So I think that's awesome. I think it's super important, and even if I am a little creepy, but I'll be your friend and it'll be worth it.
I love it. Oh gosh. So when you're doing a trial, do you like test different makeup looks? Do you do like more, like, or do you just kind of like figure it out first and then work with it? Like, how's it go?
So if we're talking in the beginning, it depends on the person too. So like,
Right.
if we're talking enough in the beginning and we're like, and I can really read that person, or they might have a clear vision of what they're looking for, then yeah, it can be like as simple as like we do one makeup look and that's it. A lot of the times too, I'll say like, okay, we're gonna do a makeup, and like I'll keep it more natural, and then we can take pictures and see how that feels, and then we can add onto it. So it's easier to add than it is to subtract. So if for whatever reason you're like, I don't know if I want it to be more natural or I want it to be more dramatic, start with that natural look and take pictures of it and get a feel for it, and then build on top of it. Another thing with my clients is that they don't really know if they want traditional or airbrush makeup. That's been like a huge question, because a lot of people don't know what airbrush looks like, or they don't really know anything about airbrush. So what we've been doing actually is like half of the face airbrush and half of the face traditional. And it's like the best way to really get a feel for like what looks better. And of course I don't let them leave with half of it. But they can really see the difference side by side versus like, okay, this is traditional, helpful. And like remember what that looks like, because we're gonna wipe it off. Right. But to see it side by side, then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I like this one better, or I like this one. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's like the difference between the two, like generally speaking?
So I usually ask the bride, like if they're if they wear makeup on a regular basis. If they say no, I usually say, okay, 9 out of 10 times they're gonna want just traditional makeup, because airbrush makeup feels really lightweight on the skin, but it does look more perfect. And sometimes that can feel too makeup-y or too made up for someone who doesn't usually wear makeup. But it really is so flawless. So if you really want that perfect look, it's definitely the way to go. I'm sure you've photographed both. Like, can you tell the difference? Because sometimes I feel like when we do half the face, they're like, I can't really tell a difference. And it's like, okay, well, airbrush can wear a little bit longer. It's a little bit more on that like waterproof side. You know what I mean? Not to say makeup is bulletproof, but it can definitely be longer lasting. And it's a good option, especially if you're getting married, like, in the summer, like you. Yeah. Because it can be hot. You don't want to worry about, your face melting away or anything like that. Like if you're, talking about a tinted, like if you're talking about a tinted moisturizer versus the airbrush is definitely going to hold up longer. Right. So, and speaking of like, weddings in the summer or touching up, I love this. I always laugh when I suggest this because it reminds me of high school, but do you remember those oil blotting sheets? Yeah. Did you ever use those? And I feel like every girl in high school would be like handing them out in the back of their classroom, because we were just so oily. But those are such a good tool because they don't remove they don't move the makeup, so they just kind of remove the oil, and then like you're solid. So you don't have to worry about like, do I have to look at them? You literally can just go like this, and you don't have to even look in the mirror. And they're sold at CVS, so it doesn't get much easier than that.
That's a really good tip, for sure.
Yeah, well, you're getting married in the summer.
Me, I'd be like, just wipe it off.
No. Oh, and like speaking of touching up, like tears, I'm always like, catch the tears before they fall, because a tear going down your face like this, not good. I mean, like I tell people, I'm like, for the most part, when a professional does your makeup for a wedding, like we're thinking about longevity, we're thinking about tears, we're thinking about anything that we can possibly prevent. Right. But it's not bulletproof. So there are certain things that I'm like, don't jump in a pool. You know what I mean? Like, You can't do just anything. So catch your tears before they fall, I always say. Have a tissue on hand and just kind of dab the corners of your eyes. And they're happy tears. It's okay to cry a little bit, but
don't let them create all the
don't get crazy.
Oh, man.
I had one bride. It was so hysterical, and she was so emotional the morning of her wedding, and she literally like held her hair back, and she like had her face down, and she was letting the tears fall to the ground. I'm like, are you okay? What are you doing? She's like, I can't ruin the makeup. And she's just letting the tears fall straight to the ground. So
that's amazing.
Also another option, I don't know. Whatever
so
works.
But yeah,
she was just fine.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Another thought just about trials. Like, do you think that should brides figure out get their dress first, or does that not matter? Does that kind of impact the style a little bit?
Yeah. I do a lot of trials. I do a lot of everything. So like I'll do some trials. Like I've done 2020 trials. So that's obviously most of them are over a year out. But I also do trials that are like, around the corner. So I always try to work with what you know. For the most part, well, always, like the venue is booked.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so even if you don't have your dress, the venue itself just tells so much about already. You know what I mean? Because the dress also, once you have the venue, like everything kind of works around that venue, right? So I always ask to see a dress if you have one. Again, like going back to personal style. Mm-hmm. And I can see a dress and I'm like, oh, okay, that's boho. Oh, okay, that's like really traditional. Or okay, that's really glam. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not always do. I mean, for the most part, your whole wedding has like the same feel. But I do have a lot of brides that are getting married in really rustic places, and their look is like super modern or super, glam. So and Rock Island is one of those venues that can go kind of either way, right?
Totally.
So there are a few of those too. So I always ask to see everything. I'm like, these people probably think I'm so nosy, but like it's just so telling.
Yeah.
And if I do ask all the right questions and we really have a great conversation, most of the time, like I'm nailing the look. You know what I mean? Because we've talked about everything. Yeah. So
love it. How long do trials usually last? Sorry, I have so many questions.
No. This is so good. Trials for me are about an hour and a half.
Okay.
It depends on what we want to do, or sometimes 2 hours. Are we trying more than one thing? Are we chatting about things? Are we trying the airbrush and the traditional? So I had a trial today. It was like just about an hour, but I've also had trials that are 2 hours because we've tried different things. Or I would say 2 hours is a lot. I would say it's usually between an hour and a half. Okay. And that's including like chatting for 5 or 10 minutes about details and stuff. But I think that part is so important. I think if I didn't chat about details, I think I would be spending so much more time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's definitely important to, and like going back to what I said before too, like a lot of my brides are super natural and they aren't huge makeup wearers. Right. So they don't usually know what they want, which is like why it's so important to ask the other questions. Because if I say, oh, well, what do you want to do with your makeup? They're like, I don't know. I don't even, like, I don't own a foundation or whatever the case is. So I have to like ask the other questions to decide what kind of makeup this person, would like. Right. That makes sense. Tricky business. It's like a puzzle. I love it. Yeah. And it's totally about reading the person, So it's totally about that connection for sure. Yeah.
And then, so when you're doing like bridesmaids and stuff, like the morning of, do you do you generally like figure out a look for the bridesmaids in advance, or is it more just like that day, kind of like going with each person, kind of what works?
Yeah, it's totally about like being on the fly and just like, so I'm sort of asking the same kinds of questions that I would ask a bride, but now it's like condensed, right? Because obviously we don't have time to be like, let's go have a conversation on the couch. You know what I mean? I mean, I would love that, but that's just not usually the case.
Right.
But yeah, it's very rare that there's like one particular look for everybody.
Right.
I think that's a little bit more popular with hair, because I've seen that like a couple times. Like, I want all the bridesmaids to have like a low bun or whatever it is. That's not usually the case with the makeup, and I don't think it's necessarily a good idea for makeup, because everybody is different, and somebody might look great in glam, or you know, they might look great in glam but just not feel comfortable, and the same thing with natural. You know, if they wear a lot of makeup every day, they might not feel so good in natural makeup. So I think it's really important to let people feel good on the wedding day, regardless of what their role is in the wedding. But yeah, we just have like a quick conversation, like, what are you looking for? A lot of the times they just say, just make me pretty. And I'm like, that is the most general like plan ever for makeup. But and then it's usually like, do you want a smoky eye? Do you want something more natural? Just like super general questions, and I can like quick pick up. And then again, like what color dress they're wearing, those things too always play a part in it. And then I'm able to make a quicker decision. And I usually do ask like, what's your skin type? And the reason that we ask those kind of questions is because it usually depends on like what kind of moisturizer we're using on you, or what kind of primer.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if you're like, I get super oily during the day, I'm not going to use something like a thick cream on your face right now. Right. You know what I mean? I'm going to use something that's more lightweight if you haven't moisturized, and then I'm going to go ahead and, do an oil controlling primer or whatever. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow. And it's so much, right? It's so crazy.
I just started using a primer.
Yay! What are you using?
Well, for me, I have like the hardest time finding, like, generally speaking, makeup that like fits my porcelain skin tone.
Yes.
So that's a struggle. And also, I'm allergic to sunscreen, so anything with SPF in it, like, I was like, let me just try one, and then it's like my whole face gets like itchy. I'm like, okay, no.
I totally forgot about that. I remember you mentioning that a while back. That is tough. So, because a lot of products already have the sunscreen built in.
So many.
Yeah.
And with like, so, and a lot of the primers do too, and like sometimes they don't like list all the things, and I'm like, oh, that I found out the hard way. That's definitely not working. But so like for foundation, I just use like the Maybelline Fit, because they have like the lightest possible one.
No. And my cousin is
got their primer. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's the same. It's like the Fit Me primer.
Yeah.
Is it colored?
Mm-mm.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
See, and it's so just kind of going off of that though. Like, those are 2 drugstore products, right? And like, I feel like back in the day, like, I'm so elderly, but like 10 years ago when I or 12 years ago when I started for MAC, it was like drugstore makeup, horrible, pish posh, you know what I mean? But now it's like there's so many different lines, and they're really good. And I always say, like, people are like, oh, you like drugstore makeup? I'm like, I have drugstore makeup in my kit. I have drugstore makeup in my personal makeup bag, because there's gems in every line. And like, just going off of what you said, like, you have to find what works for you. So I think like that's like such a good example. And my cousin is super fair, and she always complains about not having colors that
literally that is the only I found.
That's so crazy.
I know. And I even went to, I think it was Sephora at the mall, and I was like, hey, can you like help me out here? And they like, did like a test. I was like, I'm yellow.
Oh no.
So I was like, all right. no, I guess I'm sticking with my Maybelline.
Yeah, because your skin is literally like milk white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Which
like
is, like, amazing.
more pinky than like yellowy undertone. So like, I don't know. They did like that thing where it's like some machine that like is supposed to like tell you what color it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is not accurate. Maybe it's just like I'm broke the system. It doesn't register.
It's so crazy to me because I remember like matching people for hours. Like we did not have a machine to match people when I used to work at Mac. It's so funny. But like, hey, maybe. But for you, it definitely is challenging with super light skin. And like, just like you said too, and I think this is like a good makeup if you're going shopping for makeup. So like you said, like you're a little bit pinker. So there's like pinky undertones, and then there's like more yellow undertones. And if you're like a golden skin tone, you're probably more yellow. But like you're so fair, so you probably have a little bit of that pink undertone. So that's good. I mean, that's like a huge. I feel like people don't understand undertones, especially if they're shopping for themselves. So that's like crazy good that you know that. You act like you don't know anything, and you definitely know it. You do. That's like, I feel like that's like a huge thing. Like people are like, oh, I don't know what undertone I am, but it can go either way. And then there's also like in between, like which is like a neutral, which is like what I am. But so that's like, you're good. You always look great too. You're such like a liar. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you always look great.
No. Oh my gosh. But it's hard. I feel like, I mean, now that I like found that foundation, like I'm sticking with it until I like find something else. But I mean, I don't know if there's a need to find anything else if that works, but it's hard. I'm like, I hope like, I mean, and I've had like for my headshots and stuff, Michelle has like done my makeup. Yeah. She did the airbrush, which I really liked. It does look tanner than I'm normally used to, but then like I look at the photos of me and I'm like, feels pretty much the same. Yeah. So it's like, I know it's like, it always feels like it's, whoa, that is like not me. But then when you see the photos, it's like, okay, like it translates a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's a huge thing too, I think. I mean, I go back and forth about this because I'm like, especially with brides and like talking about like how it looks in photos, right? Like how your makeup looks in photos. I'm like so big on like, we want it to look great in photos, but like, are you comfortable? You know what I mean? Because it's a long day. You're wearing that makeup for a long time. And even like you said, you're like, at first it might feel like, oh my gosh, right? And then you kind of like get used to it. And then you're like, oh, like, obviously, Michelle would not lead you wrong. So it's like, you have to kind of think about those things too. And not, and like, there is sort of like a little shock factor sometimes in the beginning. Yeah. But I mean, and so like, you want it to look good in photos, but you want it to feel good in person too. Yeah. Sometimes in person, you want to be comfortable, but it takes like a minute or two. Yeah.
I feel like that happens anytime I do like anything. Like I got my hair highlighted a couple weeks ago, and I like at first I was like, oh my god, yeah. It's like, what just happened here? And then it's like, all right, no, like it's I'm cool. It looks good, but
I hate getting my hair done for that reason. I'm always like, like it's not me. Yeah. It's so like perfect or like polished, and I'm like always in a messy bun or like doing whatever. Yeah. So it's like it definitely is out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And sometimes I forget that. And I'm sure you get that too. People are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do in front of a camera.
All the time. Yeah. It's right? Like, so this is weird. I'm like, I get it. I totally feel like
I know. And I think we become kind of like immune to it. We're like, yeah, but it'll be fine. But it is definitely like a little bit of a shock factor at first.
Yeah. Because it's like, for me, like, oh, I do this all the time. People who don't know what it's like being on the other side of the camera, it's like, no big deal, like don't worry. But then the few times I've like had my photos taken, I'm like, oh yeah, this feels really weird.
It's so strange. Yeah.
No, it's a good reminder.
No, you have to like, Totally. So funny.
Oh boy. I think, let's see.
I'm
I think
gonna go through.
I mean, that was my other specific question, but like any other tips that you have or advice for brides or anything else that like you feel is a good thing to share, please do.
I think I have like a little final note here. I just like want to encourage people to really invest in skincare. And I think that I don't want to sound like I'm so old, but I turned 30 last year and I was like, oh my God, I've been like kind of like getting by like using like what I like have always personally used. Of course, I'm always trying products and stuff for my clients, but then I'm like, I go back to like my comfortable zone. So I think, you know, my skin is obviously different than it was 10 years ago. And I think that there's so much out there. Like people are like, oh, what makeup do you use? I'm like, literally everything. Like my kit has like endless brands in it. You know what I mean? And I think there's just so much out there that it can be super daunting. And then you end up being like, hey, best friend, like, what are you using? I'm just going to like use that too. So I think I always like try to encourage people, like, go for that facial and like learn a little bit about your skin. Go to a store and ask for some help, or, you know, do the research. And sometimes it's like, can be a pain in the butt because you have to try things and they won't work, and then you have to try something different. But once you find your like your jam, oh my God, your skin, like when my skin feels so good, it's like it gives you so much confidence, and like your makeup will literally look that much better. So do the work. I know it stinks sometimes. It's just so tedious, and people are like, oh really? Like, but it can be like life-changing, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm very nervous, I feel like, to get a facial. This is what I felt before I got a massage. Like, I didn't have a massage for the first time until like last year. Like, why? What, Sam?
Why? Doing what we do, you have.
I have no idea. And then Steph and Justin from Tone Media were like, okay, hand and stone. Literally the best, eye-opening. I was like, why have I not been doing this? I feel like I'll probably have a similar experience doing a facial, because it's like, oh wow, but it's nerve-wracking. I don't know. It's like I always feel nervous, like going and be like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what do I do here?
Yeah, you're like, I don't. What? How do I? And you're like, they're like, no, you can leave your clothes on. Or like, whatever it is.
Literally.
I like did that once. I was like, do I need to take my pants off? They're like, no. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so nervous. But
I wouldn't even know that either.
So I have two places, like, I know I mentioned EC Beauty Salon, but they're like amazing. I don't, this is not an ad, but like, I just like love them, and they like made me feel super comfortable. Yeah. And like they actually, like, I left with like feeling like knowledgeable. And then I also went to a place called Omnia Aesthetics, and they're a med spa, so they do have like a doctor on in the facility as well. So it's like you want to go somewhere that you're like, okay, this place is like legit, and like definitely one of those things that you want to read reviews on and stuff like that. You don't want to just wing it. But once you get into the groove of it, it's kind of addicting. I mean, I like loved going. I kind of fell off, especially in the winter when probably I should be going more often. But like, I was going monthly, and I just like loved my skin when I left, you know. And I think that's like kind of priceless, especially, you know, I feel like we're so tough on ourselves. So I feel like not only was I like looking and feeling great, but I was like more knowledgeable about how to take care of my skin. So that's like, that's huge for me. And I'm the same with I mean, I go for monthly massages now, but you know, the other thing too is like, you don't want to feel like it's selfish, because it's like about self-care and taking care of yourself and making the time for yourself. Right. If it makes you feel better mentally and physically, like, sign me up. Yeah.
I'm all about the monthly massage.
Yeah.
And, like, I should probably go bi-weekly. And I'm like, all right, calm down.
I know.
but for real, it's so good.
I know. I talk about my massage therapist like she's my like good friend. I'm like, David, I'm going to see Maritza. He's like, okay. Like she's like we're like on a first name basis in this household. It's so great. But like you have to find, you have to find what works for you, and then and again, that's like another thing. You have to find the person that works for you and who makes you feel comfortable, and stick with that person. So
yeah, totally.
do it to it.
I'm excited.
Okay, are you gonna like tell me about your journey, about like what all that you're doing? I'm gonna hold you to it now.
Yes, I 100% will.
Wait, because you have what? You have over a year, right?
Yes, yeah, July 2020.
Yeah, you definitely have time to do the research.
Yeah,
you do have nice skin. You do.
I'm so white. I'm so white. Oh, but, it's okay.
People like would like die for your porcelain skin. I know, grass is greener, girlfriend.
Yeah. But I mean, mostly the one that I could live with being my super pale self, but I just really hate how like sensitive my skin is to everything. Like being allergic to sunscreen. Come on, I need it more than
crazy. I know, I was gonna say, like you like truly could use it like every day. What do you use? Zinc oxide?
I can't even, like, I've used some of those, and they also have like the other ingredients in it. So I use this stuff called Raw Elements. It's okay. It's like super thick and it smells not great, but I don't. But the hard thing mostly for me is like on like wedding days and stuff when I'm outside all the time, and because it's like so thick, it takes a while to rub it. Like I can't wear, and it only lasts about like 90 minutes. So I can't put it on that morning and be good to go like 6 hours later.
Right.
So I'm just like hoping for the best. Like, hope I don't burn. I'm gonna die.
We gotta get you like a big floppy hat.
Yeah, like a wide.
But so crazy story about and I like tell this to scare people. I shouldn't do that. But I actually I go for and this is like a great tip for anybody, but like to go for a yearly screening for sunspots, because I actually went last year and did have a skin cancer spot that they had to remove. So like I mean, I know that the sun is like bad for you, but like this was damage that it was done when I was like young, and it comes out over time. So like, thankfully the spot wasn't on my face, but it definitely can be. I feel so bad. I always feel like I'm putting like fear into people, but it's like it is true, and it really does happen. So it's super important to protect your skin. So if you can't wear sunscreen, we're getting you a big floppy hat.
Yeah. And like what's cool is like for my foundation, even though it doesn't have sunscreen, it's like a physical sunblock. So my face doesn't typically burn because like that is like covered.
That's a really good point. That's like a really good point. I always do like I wear sunscreen, but I'm fair too, and I do my sunscreen and then I put makeup on top of it because I'm like, more protection. Because you're right, because sunscreen needs to be reapplied,
Right. Yeah.
Which I feel like people put it on once and they're like, I'm good, and that's how you end up with like a terrible burn. So we're going down like this like sunscreen path. Like I feel, and the sun feels so good, I know, and like, but protect yourself.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. So not worth it. No way. No way.
Well, thanks, Sam, for doing this with me.
Oh,
this was super fun.
I like love skincare. I'm like obsessed. I like want to put the passion in everybody.
I'm excited. I'm probably gonna be texting you about 1,000 questions, but
wait, can you please I'm gonna be like in like a week. I'm gonna be like, so what are we using? It's definitely, you're gonna see when you put the time into it and you find new products and stuff like that. Like your skin is gonna be like that much more amazing.
Sorry, it just cut out.
I was like, Jen's done.
And bye. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm excited. So I'm gonna be asking for lots of tips. along the way, but I feel good because I've got a lot of time. So
Yeah. You totally have the time. When people have like a couple weeks left, they're like, "What can I do? I'm gonna go get like a chemical peel," and I'm like, "No, don't do that." Like I literally have people because you know what happens is like if you don't start now, then you're in a couple weeks leading up to the wedding, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I haven't done anything. And that's when people start thinking like super drastic. And you're like, no,
right.
don't do anything crazy now. So you have the time and like totally utilize it.
Yeah, I will. Oh my God.
Yay! I can't wait to hear all about it. And you have to like share it and like
I totally
encourage.
will.
Yeah.
We should do this again, like closer to the date, and then.
Wait, can we?
Yes.
Okay. And you can like
so
talk a little, and like you can totally. I'm telling you, you're gonna like definitely see a difference, and you can like tell everybody, you know, what changed.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm holding. We should do this like in like 1 year. I'm putting it on the cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Wednesday, a year from now. Here we go. I'm excited. I'll be a whole brand new woman.
You know, oh my God. You won't be using the apricot face scrub.
I won't. I'll be like, silly me, apricot face scrub.
Yeah, but, and you know what? Not to hate on that because I think that's more than a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's
like,
something.
Yeah, no, truly. And I mean, like, it's better than grabbing a bar of soap and taking it to your face or,
yeah.
You know, and I'm not hating on people because most of the time they just don't know or they're afraid to try new things.
Yeah. Yep.
So now you know, now you have no excuse.
Yeah. I'm pumped. Ready for it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well,
thanks so much, Sam. This was super insightful. I feel like I learned a lot.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes, and let me know if you have any questions.
I definitely will.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leaving
Bye.
for real now. Bye.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks, guys, for watching.